This is part of a character design challenge that I invite everyone watching this to also do. So you see I have a bunch of categories listed on the top left and the top right there. Your challenge is to take one from column A, one from column B, and design a character around that. I just rolled 2d6 and randomly happened on Wind and Witch, like a Halloween witch. And here's the fun thing about this. I began this challenge and finished the sketch in October of 2024. Finished inking it in October of 2025, and am now releasing it whatever day this happens to be. So this has been sitting on my computer for a long time, and we're almost to the completion of the sketch here. Right here, actually, when I adjusted the wings of the crow there, that was a year later. I hadn't looked at this picture for a year, and now here I am inking it. So I didn't really change anything, but I also didn't remember if I had more of a plan to try anything. Generally, when I record these, it is because I have some idea of where I'm going, and generally when I record these, that plan tends to be lost because I forget it halfway through, and oh boy, this one, an entire year passed in between doing the sketch and beginning the inking. So this is after I know almost for certain my plan was not to do hard outlining comic book shading, but that's where I am now. So that's what I'm doing. And drawing this bird was kind of a challenge for me, and it's not like an interesting experimental digital art challenge. It's just I don't draw birds a lot, so I was figuring out the anatomy on the fly. On the fly. Get it? Yeah. So I had to pull up a bunch of reference images for that and try to do kind of a rough sketch, and I do like it, but it was not really exactly sure what I was doing when I started it, and I like kind of where it ended up. You'll see when I get to the wings, I start doing this thing where I'm putting way too many feathers in there. I'm trying to figure out where does every individual feather go, and this is the beginner mistake that a lot of people make when they're trying to draw very textured things. I can just hint at feathers. Obviously, this is a stylistic choice, and it depends on if you're trying to do a realistic drawing, or I do tend to do more cartoony or comic book inspired art style drawings, and so that's kind of what I wanted to stick with here. I really didn't want to go overboard with drawing every single feather, but finding a happy medium of just hinting at and then shading and figuring out how exactly to make the crow look like a crow. Why is it a crow? Well, so my first initial thought, because I didn't plan on which category of either column I was going to pick, so I did not have really a concept of a character in my mind going into this drawing, because when I started this drawing, I really just put the list on the page and then rolled some dice and started. So I didn't sit with it. That's something I would say if you're going to try this challenge, which I encourage you to do, and share with me the result or what you come up with. You don't have to do it that way. You can roll your dice, or you can even just choose from the columns and decide, I'm going to make a fire ghost, or what else is on there? I don't remember now. Lightning Frankenstein. I feel like that's pretty easy, that one. But hey, maybe you'll have an interesting spin on it. Like right off the top of my head, I'd do like a robot or something there. That would be fun. But first thing I thought of was I could just do a traditional Halloween witch, but maybe do it in a in-flight pose on a broom. And then as I kind of got toward the sketch, I just started thinking, can I add something to this? Can I change it around a bit, and I wanted to make more of a wind theme. And so instead of making her made out of wind, or giving her some sort of like fan or wind ability, I thought maybe birds are her connection to the wind. So flight is a very important aspect of this character. So not just flying on the broom, but actually flying on. In my head, this is a giant crow. I guess you could make the argument, because there's nothing to next to it for scale, you could argue that the witch is just actually really small, and now that she's green, and I didn't think about this before, but now that she's green, she could be a goblin. I don't know. I draw goblins a lot. You know this if you've watched my videos, or you know this now because I've just told you. Either way, she could be a tiny witch on a crow, or she could have a giant crow. The original concept is giant crow. But again, there is nothing in this composition really for scale. And then I wanted to do something fun, but also didn't want to put a ton of work into a background. So this is actually a photograph that I took of the moon on a cloudy night, and I thought it looked cool, and then I put some filters on it to try and make it kind of look painting-esque. I picked this photograph because I already thought it looked like a painting. So I ultimately tried to blend it with the colors here to make it look like she is naturally on this background, and I think it turned out pretty cool. Thanks.